Yes, honey, curls. Curls for the girls. The curls are back. I love this hairstyle. I think it's one of my favorite hairstyles. Anyway, you'll probably see it for like a week and then I'll be over it. But for now, your girl is doing all the things. Pretty Bookish channel where we talk all things books all the time and also serve looks. Look at this really cute, like, look at these sleeves, honey. I got this top from H&M this weekend and it's so cute. Anyway, my name is Nobu Kanya, your resident book nerd, know of all things book related. Welcome if it's your first time here. Welcome back if you're an OG and you've been with me for a while. So today I'm going to be doing my, is it July? What month are we in now? Okay, July wrap up. So all the books that I read in July, there's quite a few. I think I had a really good reading month. I for some reason this month, I think I was in a very, I'm looking now, very YA, very romance, and I just thought, let me just dive into that lane. I've started to do the thing now recently where I just try and read what I want to read. I know you guys know I do that all the time because I don't really stick to TBRs, but like lately I've been finding myself gravitating towards like really fluffy books and like really short. I like romance, I like YA, I like fantasy. Like I've read very little lit fiction, and I read I think 2 literary fiction books that you probably saw in my birthday haul, but I like them, but like I just realized this is just not where my brain's at right now. But anyway, I'll run you guys through them. So there are I think 17 physical books, and I read 4 ebooks, and then I listened to 1 audiobook. Some of these I listened to on audio as well, but like there was just 1 book that I don't have a physical that I read, listened to audio. So about 23 books. We did pretty well this month. Anyway, yeah, let's get started. July wrap up video. Right, some light admin before we get started. You guys know the drill. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram on @PrettyXBookish. Like, comment, follow, share. By the way, follow me on Instagram on @TheMotherOfLight if you want more lifestyle and fashion content, which is what I do on my normal Instagram. But anyway, going off on a tangent. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel because, you know, we have fun here. Anyway, now let's jump straight into my July wrap-up. Okay, so books that I read in July. I loved some of these books. Like I had such a good read. I was just in the groove, bro. You know when you're reading and you finish a book and you put it down and you pick up a new book and you read it and you put it down and you pick up a new book straight away and you just, everything is just flowing. There's synergy. There's like, what's that other word that sounds like synergy? But you guys know what I mean. Like everything, there's movement. That was me this month. And I think part of the reason was that like I discovered, or I didn't discover, one of my friends, Crystal, whose handle is @MelanatedReader, guys, she put me on this a black smutty romance writer called Alexandria House. Bam! Okay, so I read her entire body of work. I didn't really count them all because like I binged them like in like 4 days. And I think that's what reinvigorated my love of reading. I just dived into a wormhole of romance. Okay, so let me start with Alexandria House because like there's quite a bit to get through. So I read most of her body of work. I think I read like 15 of her books, and you might be wondering why didn't you count them all? But sometimes when I read romance novels, especially if I'm reading very quickly, I skip certain sections and I just skip to the smut. Then I don't count them all. So that I think like the first 4 I read properly, and then after that I just wanted to see like the smut and the romance. Then I don't count them. Anyway, so her series, she's got a couple of series. I think there's one called The McLean Brothers. I think this is like the first book, which I absolutely love. Like this was the first book of hers that I read, and I was just like, love her. Then we have this series, which is Them Boys. So it's Ja, Set, and Shu, the 3 brothers. They each get books. They're very short, these novellas. Also very steamy. Ja is my favorite one. Then we have this one. I can't remember what it's actually called, the series, but I read all of these books with like Greer and Derek and stuff like that. And then I also read some of these. So the thing is with Alexandria House, it's all black and all black cast. You can see it's set like, I think it's set like in the South. It's like it's very like your typical smutty romance, but just with like an all black character. Like the first book, which is I think like Let Me Love You, it's between a lady named Jo, and she's like a mother, a new mother, a mother of a small child, and then her baby daddy is like a pro, I think he's a rapper, you find out, but then he's like he's a deadbeat dad type of thing, and then she meets like this guy named Big South who's like a big rapper in the game. Think like Jay-Z, like Dr. Dre level. Like he's an icon in the rap game. And then they kind of like meet, and then it's like, it's a proper romance. It's not just like super smutty. That like the guy is like trying to get her to marry him. Like it's a whole thing. And that's what I love about Alexandria House's books, is that like they really dive into this. Like it's all black love with smut, with a little bit of drama, but it's like more or less like black love. And there's like rapper tropes, there's like age gap tropes, where like the second book is like an older woman and a younger man, and he's a pro basketball player. Then there's like other tropes, like there's a lot, guys. So like Alexandria House, if you're looking for like a black romance writer, dive straight into that, because she is absolutely fantastic. Okay, on to the physical books, because I took like 65 years to like ramble about Alexandria House. The first book that I read, I think it was the third book I read this month, literally my favorite YA fantasy book I read this year. And it's YA sci-fi, but like top contender for like top 5 books of the year. And it is The Darkness Outsiders by Elliot Schreifer. Oh my god, guys, this book is so good. Like literally, so it's this science fiction book that follows the same kind of lines of like the Cold War, like the US side and Russia side, right? So it's set in like 2020 to 2400 whatever, like 300 years in the future from now, guys. I can't count. And like the world is decimated, it's chaos, and there's only like two, I think it's like Democratia and Federation, the two only existing countries and kind of colonies or whatever that still exist. So now they're trying to find planets to kind of settle on. So they send their 2 best astronauts. One of them is Ambrose. He's from the Federation side. No, Democratia side. Which side is the US? I think Democratia side. And then the Federation side is Kodiak. And then they're in the spaceship, and then they wake up there, and then you realize that something is not right. Because as they wake up, like they've got injuries they can't explain. Like Ambrose didn't even know that Kodiak was on the ship. Then they start to discover like, oh, okay, this is a bit weird. The what we thought we were doing here is not necessarily what we're doing here. And then there's also an artificial intelligence, whatever, an AI, and you know how I feel about AI. Think Aiden from like Illuminate, like an AI that you're like, is this AI on my side, or is this AI about to go crazy? It's guys, it's so good. And the twists that you get, because you get multiple big twists, and you're just like, oh my god. You're like, no. And then you're like, oh crap. And then you're like, oh. And then the romance is also so great, and even the romance has like twists, and you're just like, no. And you're just like, oh my god, yes. And you're like, no. So like, it's, guys, I can't even properly say. You can see I'm like I'm hyperventilating, getting myself excited, but this is fan-freaking-tastic. I highly recommend this book. You guys absolutely have to read that. Okay, then the actual first book that I read this month that I also really enjoyed was To Love and to Loathe by Martha Waters. It is a historical romance, and it's basically, it gives me very Emma by Jane Austen vibes. There's this the woman, her name Lady Templeton. She's in everybody's business, but she's also like a widower. So like, you know, when you in this time period, once you get married, once your husband dies, praise be to God, you are now like a free woman. You have, especially if he's a rich man, like you have your own estate. You can basically live your life like it's golden, because now you've already been married. You're a married woman. You're not like a single woman who's having to promenade all day, but also like you can kind of have like romance or whatever. So what happens in this book is that, so then the guy's name, Jeremy, he comes to Diana to say, okay, like he had an affair with this woman, and then he kind of ended it badly, and now she's spreading rumors that like he's bad in bed. So it's like, please, can like, let's like have a dalliance, so that people will be like, because people trust your opinion, people will be like, oh no, if Lady Templeton says it's good, then it must be good type situation. And I thought this was such an interesting premise for a historical fiction novel. It's not your typical damsel in distress. Like there's banter, there's a lot going on. So I think I would give it like 3.754 stars, which for me, for a romance, is a lot. The only time they get higher than this is when it's a brown sister. But this was really good. So thank you to Atria for gifting it to me. I really want to get, I know the third book in the series is coming out. This is the second book. I don't have the first book. Actually, I must ask the people at Atria to send me book 1. So yeah, that one was really good. The other romance that I read, also sent to me by Atria, was Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein. It's actually perfect if you want to read it now, because it's like set within the Olympic figure skating gymnastics world, actually not figure skating, gymnastics world. So like it's perfect for this like Olympic time. I thought it was really good. The only thing I will say is that I feel like Ryan and what's the girl's name? Avery should not have ended up together. She should never, ever have gotten with Ryan. He's presented as this kind of the romantic lead, but he is fucky. Okay, he does something in this book that like irritates me to like he basically what happens is that Avery, like, she has a career-ending injury when she was younger, so now Ryan wants to bring her on board to train another younger gymnast, right? So then it's set roughly, you remember the whole scandal around gymnastics in the US with the sexual assault and stuff like that? It's very much roughly based on that, although the writer says it's funny because she wrote it before, but it's roughly that kind of plot, right? And then this like huge catastrophe in the gymnastics world. But then when Avery tells Ryan that her old coach wasn't sexually abusive or anything, but he was really emotionally and psychologically abusive, he does that thing where he says, was it really that bad? And then he's like to her basically, because he wants to work with her old coach, because her old coach is like an icon in the gymnastics world. And he's basically doing that thing of like, yeah, but maybe he was just having a bad day. Like, was it really that bad? No, I totally believe you, but I'm just saying, is your perspective maybe warped? Loser. Absolute loser. And so at the end, anyway, guys, I can't even, this book actually made me angry because I actually really enjoyed it, but I felt like that to me was a deal breaker. Like, anybody marrying or getting in a love match with a man who feels like it's fine to be like, are you sure you weren't overreacting? First of all, your face is overreacting. Anyway, the next book that I read as well, sorry, that actually had me really vexed, sorry. The other book that I finally read was The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. It is a sapphic YA romance set. Nishat is Bengali, and then the Flavia, who is the romantic lead, is Black Afro-Brazilian. And so it's basically, it's like your typical YA book when it comes to queer identity, right? She kind of is trying to navigate, she comes out to her parents, you get that information, she comes out to her parents like early in the book, like first couple of pages, and then like her parents basically like Ray Charles it, like, we didn't hear you, like we don't know what you're saying. And it's basically like Nishat trying to navigate her sexuality within her family. She lives in a town that is like super racist and stuff like that. I think it's in the UK. That's like, not like, it's like that's microaggressive racism where like people at school will make like really comments like, oh my god, you smell like curry type situation. Do you know what I mean? So I thought the rep in this book was fantastic. I loved Nishat as a character. I loved how they navigated the relationship with her parents, because I think I've said this before when I read YA romance and like queer YA that's set within a kind of like non-Western family, is that I love it when they show the parents in a really complex light, to be like, your parents, like, because I think people always assume that like ethnic parents are gonna automatically like disown, get out of my house, when in reality, like, your parents love you, they just don't have the tools to like actually grasp what you're saying and to really accept what you're saying, because the cultural foundation and the kind of religious foundation that they have makes them think this is wrong. So it's the similar thing of her parents trying to come to terms, and it doesn't mitigate, by the way, the fact that like they are hurting her with how they're reacting, but you also get the sense that like they're not trying to be malicious about it. So I thought this was a really good representation of that dynamic. However, I hate Flavia. I hate her. I didn't like the romance either in this one. I thought Flavia did not deserve Nishat. Don't understand. Like, I get the romance, I get the YA romance and just generally romance trope that people tend to end up with the other person at the end, unless you're reading in 5 years, in which case Jesus weeps. But I feel like sometimes, let's be realistic, this person is garbage, so they don't deserve our main character. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, that was that. Then another YA book that I read that I was gifted by Jonathan Ball that I absolutely loved, I think I just posted a review on Instagram, so go check that out, is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahira Mafi. I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it 5 stars. And it's funny because her other book, A Very Large Expanse of Sea, I didn't really love it. But I thought this book was great. I think it was just, there was so much grief in this book. There was so much emotion. Like, it was such a weighty book. And it's funny because it's so short, and yet Tahira Mafi manages to cover so many themes. So yeah, this is another one that I wrote a more in-depth review on Instagram, but like, this, fantastic, definitely read it. Okay, switching gears slightly to some disappointing reads. So the first book that I read, I'm so upset. You know, I'm so glad that I didn't buy this in hardback, because I would have been on here ready to fight everybody. And that was These Ghosts Are Family by Maisie Card. Guys, what was the point of this book? Literally, can someone tell me? Okay, so this book, like plot-wise, was weak. Formatically, like completely the incorrect form. This should have been a collection of short stories, because what she did was, it's supposed to be, think homegoing. It's supposed to be this intergenerational, multi-location, multi-character perspective, how like one event can influence so many people's lives, but it's not appropriately executed. So the back of the book, you get the set that like Stanford Solomon like faked his own death or whatever to leave his whole family behind in Jamaica. You get that information in his chapter at the beginning, and it is not addressed again in this book. And it's just like, so what's the point? It's like, why would you even make that a plot twist if it's not like really plot-wise relevant? And and then it goes back in time to like ancestors, and there's like slavery time, plantation life, then there's white character. There's a lot happening for no reason. That's my take on this book. I did not enjoy it. Like I just saw, yeah, no, it's a no from me. Like I would not recommend that book. Like it just didn't hit the way I thought it was gonna hit. Same thing with this book, which was one of the last books I read this month, which was Destination Wedding by Diksha Basu. This is the only book I DNF'd this month. Bro, I think I got to like page 80 and I was like, actually, nah. Which is like, can you guys cheer for me, please? Can I get a standing ovation for actually DNFing something? It's like, I'm not wasting my time. The writing is not great. Like, the character work is like, the funny thing is that I like the characters. I like what she's trying to do. So basically the plot of this book is that what's her name again? Tina is Indian American, and then she has to go back to India for her family wedding, and you know, like those big family weddings, and it's like all the drama and her being in that space. Then she runs into a guy she had a thing with, and then it's like her parents are divorced and they both broke dates, so it's just chaotic. But like the execution was just like, it left a lot to be desired for me. So I was just like, if at like page 80, especially of something that's supposed to be like a romance, I'm not in, I'm out. Like, I'm absolutely out. And then another book that, look, it's not that it disappointed me. It's just that, like, this book, to be fair, I didn't think I was going to love, because I bought it only for the cover. And that is the Walla Experiment. Let me show you the cover so you guys don't think I'm a mad woman. Please look at that. So, oh God, the lighting is making it difficult for you guys to see. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Like, oh, it's so gorgeous. Like, this foiling, fam. And this, I bought this at Waterstones, so don't judge me. I saw it on the table when I was leaving. So I bought this book, and it's not my typical kind of book. It's like a historical fiction type situation. I thought it was okay. It's not groundbreaking. I think I can see why people love this book who read this kind of book. The writing is actually really good. It's just that, and the premise of the book is really interesting. It's basically this guy who is paid by a scientist to live in a basement room by himself for 7 years. And then after that, his family will get £50. And at that point, that was mad bones a year. So it's basically the scientist wants to invent, like, kind of like the human condition. Like, he wants to science about the human condition. So I thought it was pretty good. I'm glad I finally read it. Then another book that I read this month that I wasn't sure about. I finished it and I liked it, but it was not what I was expecting. Boys of Alabama by Genevieve Hudson. Guys, I don't know what I was expecting. I remember when I said Bridge to Terabithia, do not think Bridge to Terabithia. It's giving me very Girl Interrupted. What's that movie with, what's Ian Somerhalder's wife's name? The girl who's also on Vampire Diaries, not Vampire Diaries, Twilight, her and that other Evan Rachel Wood. You know that book? You know that movie? The one, it's giving very crackhead trailer park energy. And then it's set in the South. And like, so, and then the main character is Max. He's from Germany. I don't understand why he was from Germany. He could have just been from another part of the US. It just made no sense. Just so that people could call him a Nazi every once in a while. I don't understand why that was the case. It was good. And there were certain elements. I think I love the way that it kind of articulates this kind of, these hyper-religious, hyper-football-focused pockets of the South, and how like, and this book draws parallels to kind of like cult life, and how it's really cultish, and how like, yeah, this religious fervor that like kind of permeates, and how Max, when he gets to this environment, how it starts to warp even your own sense of like understanding of what's right and wrong, because like you're thinking like, oh, okay, this must be normal because everybody's doing it, but then you're like, as the reader, you're just like, this is absolutely not normal. So yeah, I thought it was interesting, but it was very, it wasn't what I expected. It's not your typical fantasy, and it's, yeah, I think it's an acquired taste. That is the word I'm looking for. It is an acquired taste. So like, I don't know. If you like literary fiction, that's like very lit fic, like give it a go, give it a whirl. And if you like fantasy, if you're a person who reads literary fiction but you don't read fantasy, maybe give that a whirl. So yeah, that's, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about it other than like I liked it. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure why. Okay, so the next book is a book that I loved it so much, and I'm so happy because a lot of people were like on the fence about it, and then I finally got it at Bargain Books, and that is You Should See Me in a Crown. Guys, it's so good. It was so cute. I really enjoyed this book. What's her name? Guys, why do I never remember anyone's name? Liz. Liz is such a great main character. And her relationship with her brother, and I love that it had like it had like discussions around sickle cell, her relationship with her grandparents, her relationship with her friends, and I love that, like, especially her relationship, what's his name? The guy who's like her best friend. What the hell is his name? I think his name is like Charlie or something. What the hell is his name? Wow, I can't remember. But that dynamic and like your old friends and like the jealousy. Oh, is his name Robbie? Yeah, I think, no, Robbie's her brother. Guys, I'm sorry, I won't remember. But like her relationship with her friends. I love the discussion of friendship, first love, romance, trying to fit in. It was, and learning to be yourself. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Never Have I Ever. The queer character, Debbie's best friend, the one who's like in robotics. Exactly her, like her exact situation. Trying to stay yourself, but also trying to navigate these spaces and coming out and being queer, and your family accepting you, but trying to figure it all out. I thought this book was really good, guys. It's a great YA book. Highly recommend. Then another book that I have finally read after 67 million years of owning it is Anna K by Jenny Lee. So I really liked Anna K, but I'm definitely not reading book 2 because the ending of this book, the way that it ends, I have no interest. I read the synopsis of book 2 and I was just like, how dare you? Like, so someone critical dies in this book. And I just don't, look, and the person who it is, no, my favorite character. So I was like, nah, I'm good. It's essentially Gossip Girl. It's very much giving Pretty Little Liars, Gossip Girl, not Pretty Little Liars so much because PLT, like, there's a murder and it's not like a murder mystery, but it's giving it's essentially Gossip Girl. Like, that's essentially what it is. And I thought it was really nice to read. I listened to the audiobook. The audiobook was really good as well. It's available on Scribd, by the way. And it was really nice to read if you're like having a Gossip Girl nostalgia. But other than that, I thought it was okay. I liked it enough, but I'm just definitely not reading book 2 because they hurt me too much. Then the other book that I read was a romance that I picked up at Bargain Books randomly, even in July, for like $60, and that was My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. I love Christina Lauren as like romance writers. So this basically is like a friends to lovers trope. They basically have a one-night stand, these two best friends, and they're part of a friendship group, and then they try and be like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. Then everybody, in all five of the best friends in this friendship group, it's just one of the girl, Millie, and then the rest of them are guys. They decide to do this online dating thing because there's an event coming up at the university. They're all like, I think, academics. There's an event coming up at the university that they all need dates for, and so they start doing online dating, and then like Millie low-key catfishes the guy she slept with. It's a mess. I thought it was really good. It was really cute. I liked them as a couple. I just feel like if someone catfished me, if they were my friend, I don't care how sorry you are. It's a rap, fam, because obviously you're a crazy person. But do you know what? It's not, Reed is not me. He can forgive her if he likes. Then the other book that I read, favorite romance of the month. I absolutely loved it. I read One to Watch by Kate David London. Yes, honey. It is basically think The Bachelorette, but with a fat protagonist. I thought it was so good, and I actually, funny enough, I got an arc of The Charm Offensive, which is another Bachelorette remake, but with a gay character. So that I'm looking forward to. Probably going to read that in August. But this was so good. I loved Bia. She was very messy, making very bad choices. And like, do you know what? It's funny because as you're reading it, if you watched reality TV like these dating shows, you have the same impulses you have when you watch those shows, which is like, no, I'm rooting. We were all rooting for you. You know that Tyra Banks meme? You literally have that feeling. And I was like rooting for some of these guys, and then they turned out to be crap. And like the guy who I wanted to win is not the guy who won. And then like Bia realizes some stuff, you know, being like fat, and it's like, do you know what, this book, I will say that like it's a little bit triggering, I guess that's the word you'd use, because like it really goes into depth, like especially because she's on social media and stuff like that. So she's an influencer, a fashion blogger and whatever in real life, but you get a lot of like, the book includes a lot of like DMs and magazine articles and Twitter threads about people, what they say about fat people, like, oh my god, you're gonna die tomorrow, etc, 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 etc. So like it's one of those things where you just like, it's so real. This book like gives such a real understanding of what it's like to be fat and on social media and putting yourself out there, and people feeling like everybody feels like they're an MD, everybody can come tell you about your blood pressure. So what do you know? What do you know? So I really like this book. However, same thing with Hannah Orenstein's book. Absolutely mad. I'm fuming that the guy who won is the guy who won. I knew he was the guy who was going to win from the beginning, because you can, if you've read enough romance books, you know they set you up like that. But I was fuming because he's not the guy I wanted. But anyway, whatever. It's not my love life. Bia, choose your basic man if you want to. Then the next book that I read was a book that I got for my birthday, which was Pew by Catherine Lacey. I thought it was interesting. I don't have anything else to say. It was interesting. It's very literary fiction. And I thought like some of it was, I don't know, it was very abstract, if that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, it was I. Then, I finally read Kingdom of Cover. I loved it. Guys, I love this book so much. I'm so glad that I held on. Because you guys, I think you remember when I spoke about City of Brass, I liked City of Brass, but I just didn't like love it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was solid. And I said when I read City of Brass that I'm definitely going to read the next book. But it wasn't like an Ember in the Ashes where I fell in love like day one. I'm so glad I held on. This book is fantastic. The series grows strength to strength. The characters grow strength to strength. I've already ordered Empire of Gold. Hopefully it'll arrive in August so I can still read it in August, because this is one of the series I wanted to finish this year. So fantastic. Highly recommend. Start that series. It's very good. Then I also read a book called Vanilla by Billy Merrill that I really enjoyed. Do you know what this book is? It's giving me The Poet X meets I Wish You All the Best by Mason Diva meets On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Like, think about that fusion. And it's written in verse. It's so, like, the discussion of the different aspects and elements of sexuality. So basically, Vanilla and Hunter have been like dating since like primary school, and then they're now in high school, or they're finishing high school, and they're in a relationship, and like Hunter wants to have sex and Vanilla is not sure if he wants to, and it's navigating like sexuality and hormones, and like trying to really articulate your own sexual identity, and like which social circle, trying to find your tribe, and like can their love sustain, and being like, is it good to be in a relationship that like strong and that solid so young, and stuff like that, and like the different elements of sexuality. There's different kinds of rep. I don't want to tell you what kinds of rep in this book, because you find it out as you go, but I thought this book was fantastic. Like I would actually recommend, if you're looking for a book in verse, a queer book in verse, it's a lot more, the writing is a lot more in depth than a lot of like YA in verse books. Like it's giving me very On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. There's a lot of descriptive imagery, so I really like that as well. Then the last one that I have in physical copy that I read is Pow! I finally read The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. I like this book. I'm just not sure if I liked it enough to continue with the series, because this series has, I think, like 5 books in the series, and then there's also a spin-off, and I was just like, I'm not 100% sure. However, I think, do you know what I have to do? I have to buy book 2, because I realized for me, book 1 is never really, it's very rare that book 1 comes in guns blazing. Do you know what I mean? Fantasy books, book 2 usually gives you a better sense of whether or not this book is like something that you want to read. So I really, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I like the characters. It's very much set, it's a fairy fae book, but also set on Midsummer Night's Dream. The characters of Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare is the basis for this book. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. I like the characters. I like what they're trying to do. And I like the different fae courts and how they kind of add elements of like the modern into the book. I can't tell you how, because like it's a kind of like a twist type situation, but Yeah, let me get the Iron Daughter and read it, and then I'll let you guys know. Oh my god, it's so hot in here. Like, I'm literally like trying to fan myself. Anyway, so yeah, I finished The Iron King by Julie Kugawa. That's the last book I think that I read in physical. So yeah, that's it. Those are the books that I read this month. That's all of them. These are all the, I think, like 17 ones that I have in physical. Then Alexandria House did a thing. Oh, and the audiobook that I listened to was Punching Up to the Gods by Brian Broom. I thought it was okay. I still prefer like Heavy by Kirsty Lehman, but whatever. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this video, coming with you on this journey. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it instructive. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, if you want to read any of these, if you want more information on any of these, if I didn't speak about it enough and you're really thinking of buying it. I'm always here to help. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram at @PrettyXBookish. Like, comment, follow, share, all that fun stuff. Thank you so much. Hope you guys have a good day. Bye.